Welcome back to Hoopla. I'm your host, Ethan Jackson. Hope you are all having a great day. Today I just wanted to get on here and talk about the upcoming trade deadline and which teams I think should be active in the market as the trade deadline approaches in the first week of February. To top the list of my teams, I have like the Lakers, the Mavericks, the Warriors are kind of at the top of the list. And there's also, I want to talk about the Kings, Bucks, 76ers, teams like that I think should also be active to try to fill out their roster and give themselves some depth and kind of fix some of the weaknesses that they have. So those are the main teams that I want to discuss and that I think should at least get involved in some trade talks as this deadline approaches. I had a plan for this of which teams I want to talk about, but literally 5 minutes before I sat down to record this, the news got announced that Siakam was traded to the Pacers. So I'm going to give my immediate reaction to that, just kind of my first thoughts and instant reaction to that trade, and then I'll go into the other teams that I talked about and give my ideas for what they should do and how they should approach it. So before I get started, I have to ask you to take a second and scroll down and hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. So like I said, I want to start this episode by giving my first kind of instant reaction to the Siakam trade. So the Pacers are acquiring Paskal Siakam in exchange for Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks. So as far as my first instant thoughts, this finally gives Tyrese Halliburton a solid running mate that he can rely on and makes them a pretty good duo, and I'm excited to watch that. It helps them on the defensive end of the floor where they have been pretty much non-existent this entire season. But it makes them even more fun to watch, in my opinion, because now you got Halliburton, Siakam, and Obi Toppin in transition, so that's going to be pretty special. And in my opinion, it raises their ceiling significantly and makes them a legitimate threat to anybody in this Eastern Conference. So we'll see how things pan out. Obviously, he's a free agent this summer, so they're going to have to try to reach an extension before then, so that he can't walk into free agency and just leave them out to dry with everything they just gave up. So they'll have some work to do there, but I think they have some time to see if this is going to work and that if it was worth the risk. He's young enough to where you can pair those two together, Halliburton and him, and kind of build a team around them and see what else you can do in the future. But I like to trade for them, and like I said, it messed up my plans because a lot of the teams I want to talk about on here, well, not a lot of them, but a couple of them, I have Siakam as a name on that list that they should look at. So I apologize if I name him on accident when he's already traded. So I'll try to avoid doing that and kind of scratch it out on my notes here. But that's just, like I said, that's just kind of my instant reaction to the trade. I'm excited that we started the trade deadline off with this because hopefully that's a sign of what's to come, and there's plenty more moves to come because I think that's just always fun as an NBA fan. So let's move on to the first team that I wanted to talk about, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they have to try and improve on the defensive end if they really want to be serious about trying to win a championship this year. I think they have got to improve on that end of the floor. To be more specific, their weakness is point of attack defense. A trio of 2 guards and a wing of Dame, Malik Beasley, and Chris Middleton, to me, is just not going to get the job done in terms of keeping people from breaking down their defense and getting open looks and getting to the rim at will. I just don't think that trio is going to get the job done. Obviously, starting with Dame, he's never been a great defender at any point in his career, and teams have always kind of hunted him like they do with Steph, like they do with Kyrie or any other good offensive guards, just because they're smaller in size, so it's a good matchup for most of their bigger wing players. But they also do it to try to wear him down so that he's tired when it comes to on the offensive end, so that he ain't lighting them up and go for 50 on them. So he's just always kind of got picked on his entire career, so that's a problem. Then you have Malik Beasley. So his guard running mate, who they're starting with him, is not much better. He's not a great defender either. Matter of fact, he's pretty bad as an on-ball defender. So those two as your 2 guards, and now that we're in a time in such a guard-heavy league where every night you have a good guard on the other team that's going to attack one of them, it's kind of disturbing. And then lastly of that trio I was talking about is Chris Middleton. He's not the same player that he was when they won the title that year. He may slowly work back into that form, but he's on the decline in my opinion, especially athletically. He's still able to be a very effective scorer, very efficient scorer that's capable for going for 30 on any night. But defensively, I don't think they can rely on him to guard the other team's best wings, which could be players like Tatum, Jaylen Brown, a Jimmy Butler and now Paskal Siakam. He may have to try to guard a little bit in the East. It's just, and that's just the East. I didn't even name the West to say the Lakers make it to the finals or the Suns make it to the finals. Any team like that has good wings, he don't stand a chance. So that they really have to improve there but as a team, they haven't been as bad as it, at least at the 3-point line. They've been really good at defending the 3-point line. They are near the top of the league in opponent 3-point percentage, but I think they're shifting all their focus to that because of the way the game's changing. They're focusing on stopping the three, and that's creating more space for driving lanes, and it's putting tons of pressure on Giannis and Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis and any other bigs that although they are great rim protectors and rim defenders, there's way too much pressure at a constant rate that's kind of allowing teams to get good looks at the rim, and that's why they're at the bottom of the league in paint points allowed. So here they are at near the top in 3-point percentage, but in terms of paint points, they're near the bottom. So they're kind of picking their poison, and right now the one they're picking is not working because they're very bad on the other one. So as far as what they can do to fix this, I think they need to acquire a player or two. Jay Crowder, I think, should be back. I think that, matter of fact, they said he might play tonight, which could help at the wing slot. But I don't think that's not going to solve the guard issue that much. They still have an issue with Dame and Malik Beasley. So the players I think they should go after are, for me, it's pretty clear, is Alex Caruso, Malcolm Brogdon, and Marcus Smart. That's the three that they should keep their eyes on, and I think all three are viable options for this team. Let's start with Caruso. He will probably be one of the most sought-after players in this market if they make him available, and even if he's not available, they'll receive a ton of calls for him, deservingly so. He can elevate any team in this league, no matter how good they are. So I think there's a lot of teams that would like to see him on their roster, and I would like to see him on a contending team. And I think the Bucks are one of those rosters and one of those contenders that I would like to see him on. As far as Brogdon and Smart, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. They are both playing on lottery teams right now, and I think they are at the point in their careers where it's like they want to compete for championships and play at the highest level instead of tanking and doing whatever you call what Portland and Memphis is doing. So I think they would be open to a trade. For Brogdon, it would be kind of a good story because it would be a little bit of a homecoming for him. Plus, I think he just kind of fits perfectly and molds into this team. For Marcus Smart, it would add even more fuel to the fire that the potential playoff matchup of Milwaukee and Boston could be, and man, that would just be fun to watch with all the different storylines, especially if you had Malcolm Brogdon or Marcus Smart to that mix, because obviously both of them played on Boston last year, so that would be really fun to watch. I'm almost hoping for that as a fan, but to me, that's the only players I think they should really look at, and that they should go after based on who I think will be available. I don't think they need a Levine or DeRozan. I think they should just focus on kind of adding some role players and some depth at the wing and guard positions to kind of shore up their roster enough to where they feel comfortable heading into the playoffs. Moving on, unlike the Bucks, the 76ers are really good on the defensive end of the floor. Matter of fact, they are ranked second in defensive rating and are top of the league in a bunch of other stats. So, in my opinion, they are good there on that end of the floor. They're good. And this is going to sound weird to say, but the offensive end is where they need help. It sounds weird because right now they're top 5 in offense, so it's like, well, how much more could they improve? But I think they could improve on that end of the floor. So that's where I think their focus should be. Right now, Embiid and Maxey, I think, are averaging over 60 points combined, which is all fine and good in the regular season until, but what happens when you get into the playoffs and a team says Maxey's not scoring his 25, or because we're blitzing him and we're trapping him off of screens and we're denying him the ball everywhere, being real physical on him? Or what if they say Embiid, he's getting a double every time he touches it? So what happens when they say these two guys aren't beating us, and which has happened in the past with them, and I think that's why I still have an issue with this team, even though they have been really good in the regular season on offense. I think they could use some work on that end of the floor. So I just think they're too reliant on those two guys when it comes to a 7-game series. You usually need your others to win you one game, as Shaq calls them. He always says that they need to get you at least one game, and right now I don't think their others are good enough to get you a win in a highly contested series. For them, I also don't think they need another star, or at least I don't think the star that they need is available. I could talk myself into DeMar DeRozan. I kind of would like that fit on them. I don't like the Levine idea for them. at all. Really, I don't like that. I don't like that idea for them. I hope they stay away from that. But as far as a star wish list, if I could just kind of be a fairy tale and have a wish list of who I think could fit on that team, it would be somebody like a Mikal Bridges or Paul George if he were to come available and in some crazy scenario. But those are the only two that I think I would give a call about is Mikal Bridges and Paul George. But I don't think maybe Gordon Hayward, somebody like that. But I don't think any of those are realistic. So kind of what is realistic for them? I feel like an aging star that might be available, depending on how the rest of this month goes, is Klay Thompson. I've heard Kendrick Perkins say it plenty of times that he thinks Klay needs to change the scenery and that the first team he names is Philly, that could use some shooting in a long wing. He's not as good as he once was on the defensive end, but he's just as good a shooter as he ever was. And if that was to happen, I think he could take this team to a whole new level. And I don't know what they would have that the Warriors would want in return necessarily, but again, like I said about Mikal Bridges and Paul George, I think it would be worth the call, at least getting on the phone with Mike Dunleavy up in Golden State and seeing what you could offer him and if he's even open to it. But in all seriousness, I think they should try and get a couple 3-and-D guys and also try to find a true veteran point guard like a Tyus Jones, somebody like that can come in for stretches and kind of hold down the fort while Maxey's out. So, we'll see what direction they try to go. Do they bring in another star? Do they bring in some more depth, or do they stay put and say let's make a run at it like we are? And so we'll see what they decide to do. Next team I think needs to be talked about is the Kings. To me, they have just been a weird team for me this whole season, even going back to last year. I never really know what to make of the Kings. I don't know what it is. Like this season, they have shown signs of being a great team and proving on last year, and then they show signs of concern by getting blown out by someone. Or last night, they just blew a 22-point fourth quarter lead to the Suns. So I really don't know what to make of this team at all. But one thing I do know is that they need to make a move because they are not winning a championship anytime soon with the way the roster is currently constructed. So I think they need to try to make a move at the deadline because standings wise they're not horrible. It's not like they're out of the playoff picture or anything like that. So, and I think this year's wide open as ever. Denver's still there, obviously. Thunder's good, everybody's good, but I think if they get the right piece, they could turn this thing around and have a legit shot at making a run for the title this season. But as far as what that move is, honestly, like I said about the team, I have no idea. Just like always with this team. I just know they need to do something. I don't know if they should go for a star like Zach LaVine or Lauri Markkanen or right here I have Siakam, but obviously he's not available anymore. But even someone like a Gordon Hayward, I think might could fit pretty well on this team. I think it would all depend on what they would have to give up to get a player of this caliber. If it's too much, then they probably need to stay put and try to do something this offseason. But if they can get one of these players at a reasonable price, I think they should do it. If I had to pick one out of those few I named, I like Markkanen the most because I think they are good on guards and ball handlers and initiators with Fox and Malik Monk, and even Sabonis kind of initiates the offense sometimes. So I don't think they necessarily need another ball-dominant player like a Zach LaVine or somebody. However, I could look at it from a different perspective and kind of I feel like you could convince me that they need another go-to wing scorer, go-to scorer, off-ball scorer, as I put it, and that's exactly what LaVine is. So I could be talked into it, I think. I don't personally like it and don't think that moves the needle for them, but I could be talked into it. So that is one route they could go, where they could just try to fill out some role players and add to their depth and help cure some of the weaknesses they have. So I have to throw out those same names that I threw out for other teams like Caruso and Brogdon. I think could help them. Also kind of like the idea of DeRozan going there just to kind of give them some veteran leadership and another efficient scorer and another look on the offensive end. But, like I said, I have no idea what to make of this team, nor do I know what move they should make, if they should make any at all. But if I was the GM, I think I would try to do something or at least look into doing something. So on to the three teams that I said top my list: the Mavs, the Lakers, and the Warriors. these are the three teams that I think should make the biggest splash come this trade deadline and trade season. So I'm gonna start with the Mavs. They have been, they've been a pretty good team this year, just like I thought they would. Despite some injuries to Luka and Kyrie, they have still kind of managed to. I mean, they're sitting at the 5 seed in the West and playing some pretty dang good basketball right now. And because of that, I think they should go all in and be active in this market and try to improve this team as best they can to give themselves a real shot at winning it all this year. In my opinion, their biggest needs are another wing scoring option and some front court help. So there are a few names that instantly come to mind for me. The first one is Jeremy Grant up in Portland. Although his contract is a lot of money and a lot of years, and that would pretty much mean you have no cap flexibility anytime soon with Luka and Kyrie and him on max contracts, especially with the new CBA rules that are about to go into effect. So I could see them making this move, but then again, that's a huge commitment, and I don't know if you'd be able to trade him again if it didn't work out. So I don't necessarily know how I feel about that one. Second on here again, I had Paskal Siakam, but obviously that ain't gonna happen. I have Isaiah Stewart on here to help the front court, give them some physicality, some toughness, and help them on the defensive end. Obviously, he's not that great on offense, but he could probably be a good screener and a good rim runner. So I kind of like that idea, and I don't think they would have to really give up that much to bring him in. So I wouldn't mind seeing him on the team. But the fourth one is kind of a dark horse to me and might be kind of a wild card. It's Kyle Kuzma. I don't really know why, but I kind of like this idea. It adds another scoring option from the wing like I was talking about, and it gives them an option where they don't have to be so guard pick and roll heavy and reliant on Kyrie and Luka to make a play every possession. You have Kyle Kuzma who can go get his own shot, who can spot up, who can work in the mid-post area. It just kind of gives you another look, and for some reason that idea is growing on me, and I haven't really seen anybody talking about it, but I would like to see them try something something like that out. He's long, he's athletic, and could play defense if he puts his mind to it. We saw it in the bubble. Since then, he hasn't really done nothing, and up there in Washington, he definitely ain't playing no defense. But I think if you get him under Jason Kidd and when everybody on that team knows that's where they're trying to improve, I think it could help them. I don't know what you'd have to give up for him, but I think it's not going to be too much because I think Washington just kind of in a complete rebuild, and they know they're not going to get much for him from anybody else, so they'll probably take what they can get. But the Mavericks are a weird one because I think they know they need something, and I believe they are willing to get involved in these talks and make moves, but I'm not sure they really have enough assets to be a strong buyer in this market. So I don't know if they're able to make a move or not. I hope their GM can get by all of this and get through all these obstacles and kind of find a way to make a move that can increase their chances, this season and going forward. But because like I said before, if you have Luka and Kyrie in a 7-game series, you have a chance. So if you add another piece of that, you really have a chance. And I would like to see that happen because that just makes for a whole lot more interesting rest of this season. If they add another star to this team, sitting at the 5 seed, playing some good basketball, you add another star to this team, and they find a way to mesh it together come playoff time. The Mavs, man, they'd be dangerous. They'd be dangerous, and they'd be fun to watch. So I hope something happens there. All right, on to the next team that and this is a team I know a lot of you are here for, and that's the beloved Los Angeles Lakers, the Lake Show, whatever y'all want to call them. I'm sure that's who a lot of y'all are here for. They are definitely a team that I think is going to be active in the trade market just like they were last year, and I think this is about to be history repeating itself. If you would have asked me going into the season, are the Lakers going to be looking to make a trade at the deadline, I probably would have looked at you like you were crazy, but they're at that point again. I mean, they are barely sitting in the play-in tournament right now. I think they're at the 10 slot. And that's not going to cut it for LeBron. It's not going to cut it for Rob Pelinka, for Magic Johnson, for anybody that's a fan of this team or anybody that's involved with this team, especially LeBron. That's not going to cut it. So the reason they need to make their biggest issue has been their three-point shooting, just like last year. It has just become more magnified this season because their defense is not nearly as good. So it seemed like they tried to solve this problem with all the moves they made in free agency and the people they retained, but all that's not coming to fruition. It's not happening. They thought they brought in some shooting and some defensive players, but they're not playing up to that standard. It looks like all those role players also sold us a bill of goods in the playoffs. Rui, Austin Reeves, and D'Lo they have all came way back down to earth, and compared to how they played the first 2 rounds of the playoffs last year. I also think they are missing Schroeder. I think that's getting overlooked in a lot of the talk about the Lakers and why they're struggling and this, and that. I think they are really missing Dennis Schroeder to play the point guard, to hound the other team's guard. I think they're just really missing that. But let's that's enough about last year and who they're missing. What can they do to fix the problems that they're having this year? I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I don't think they need another star. I hope they stay far away from that. And I could see it because that was earlier in the year when I said that, and their players just weren't playing as well as I thought they would. But the issue now is that they're still not playing to that standard that they thought Austin Reeves would develop into, and that Rue would develop into, and that D'Lo under a surefire contract would develop into. So I could buy into the idea that they could use a Levine, a DeRozan, or the one I'm starting to hear a little bit in the chatter is DeJounte Murray. Out of the three of those, I like DeJounte Murray the most if they were to trade for another star. But, because I don't know, that one's kind of growing on me. But the only issue with it is it don't really help their shooting. I don't think it gives them another playmaker to take some pressure off LeBron and adds a different look and something coming from the guard position. And he's also a good defender, so it'll help their defense a little bit, their point of attack defense or whatever. But I don't necessarily know if I'm still fully sold on them bringing in another star. I still think they should try and trade for role players that are shooters. That's the key word. I want to emphasize shooters, not defenders that can shoot the ball. They need some shooters, and which shooters come available, I don't know, but they need some, one or two of them. And first people that kind of come to mind are players like Joe Harris and Bogdanovich from Atlanta, and those are kind of the first ones that popped in my head. I also think if this were to happen, I don't know if it's going to, if this were to happen, they have to join on the Clay sweepstakes as well. I think they need they need a surefire shooter, not, like I said, not Cam Reddish, who's a good defender. He can shoot the ball. He shoots a little bit above average. Taurean Prince shoots above average. None of these guys are shooters, and that's what they're missing right now. So, I'm kind of interested to see how they handle this trade deadline because, like I said, I could talk myself into both angles. On one hand, they're the 10 seed in the West and are below 500 team. On the other hand, they clearly have a switch they can flip. Hence the 7-0 record in the in-season tournament, and honestly a pretty dominant performance that whole time. So I don't really. They've also won a number of other big games. So I don't know. I could see them going either way, and if they decide to make moves, I could see them trading for another star, or I could see them trading for some role players. But to me, they are in a very interesting spot, and if I know anything about LeBron-led teams, they're not going to waste a year, and I don't blame him. He's getting up there in age. I don't know how many more years he has left, but they're done wasting years, and I think the Lakers are done wasting years. And so we'll see how aggressive they decide to be at this deadline. And the last team I want to talk about, and this will probably be the team I'll talk about for the longest, is the Warriors. To me, they are the most exciting team when it comes to this upcoming trade deadline. I don't know if exciting is necessarily the right word to use, but they will for sure have the most eyes on them. They are in a situation where they can make one big move and try to bring in a Lauri Markkanen or another star, see if they can turn things around this season, or they could blow this entire thing up and trade Clay and Draymond and effectively end the dynasty as we know it. So they are in a very interesting spot. I have to admit that this is a tough subject for me to talk about. I've told you before that I'm a Warriors fan. Really I'm a Steph fan. I'm more of a players guy, but that makes me have to be a Warriors fan. They won their first championship when I was 12, I think it was. So really all of my formative years they have been competing for championships. So for people my age, it was either you're a LeBron fan or you're a Warriors fan, and I chose the Warriors. So this team is special to me, and they're a huge reason why I love the NBA so much. So as much as this hurts to talk about it, I have to do it. So let's do it. But before I start, I just want to quickly say that I think this team has until the deadline to prove to the front office not to make some huge changes, and that includes everyone on this team, as Woj reported the other day. I think this has been the case for about a month now, where this team is really playing for their lives and has been for like I said, about a month. But right now, starting today, I think these players are going to have to do some convincing to make management believe that they don't need to make a move. So we'll see what happens. They're starting to finally get some people back. Draymond just came back. Hopefully Chris Paul will be back in the next 2 weeks or so, and GP2 at some point. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to assume that they look to make some moves, and I want to discuss the moves that they could make and a few that I think they should make. So there's a difference there. There's ones that they could make, and there's a few that they should make. So what are the trades they could make? Obviously, you got Zach LaVine. I'm not big on this one for them at all. It makes them younger, obviously, more athletic, adds a different look, adds another scorer, somebody that can create their own shot. But to me, that would eliminate their flexibility come this offseason, and they would be stuck with this contract for the next few years. So that means that this would be a move that they would have to live with for the next few years, no matter how it turns out this season. It would be something that you're stuck with. The next person that they could make is trading for DeMar DeRozan. I'm not as low on this one as I thought I would be, just because of the fact that he's a free agent this summer. So they could still let him walk and have all their flexibility. Now it would hurt that you have to give up some players for him, but as far as the fit goes, I don't think this would be bad at all. It would add a dimension to this team that they have not had since KD was there, which is the mid-range game and someone who can go get easy buckets, which is something they are missing very badly right now. It's either Steph creating something off the dribble, off a pick and roll or whatever, or a three. They're not able to get any easy baskets right now, and that's why they're not as good on the offensive end as they should be with the pieces they have. So to me, that this is one of those moves that I think you would make if you're trying to salvage this season and go all in on this year and think you can make a run at it, and not something that's a long-term thing. That's kind of the reason I also don't like it, because I think they are too far gone at this point in the season, as much as that hurts to say, and I don't think this move really makes them legit contenders. I could be wrong. We'll see if this thing happens, but the only way I would really like this move would be if they could get him to stay this summer on a team-friendly deal and on a discount. And I wouldn't mind that at all, because I think the fit is there, and I think it could be pretty potent on the offensive end. I don't know how much it helps them on defense, but I think it could help them there. The other guy that I'm starting to see a little bit of rumors about is DeJounte Murray. This is another one like LaVine's situation that would be a long-term risk. I'm not the biggest fan of this one, but I can see why the front office would think this is a good idea. It would be, bringing a younger guard, a younger star to pair with Steph, and to me that's the key. To me, this is a move that means you were going in a completely different direction away from Steph, Clay, and Dre, and to me this is a move you make if you're about to blow the whole thing up and go with a younger team to surround Steph with, because to me this would force you to change your whole offensive style and just your overall play style in general. So as far as what he would bring to the team if he was brought in, he obviously would help them on the defensive end. That was just something they need right now. And it adds another playmaker, somebody that can do something other than Steph Curry, because that has been the big issue so far this season. So, honestly, I have to admit I haven't paid enough attention to DeJounte Murray's career to really have a good assessment of him and exactly how I could see him weaving into this offense and just this team as a whole. So I don't really want to talk about it because I don't really know that much about DeJounte Murray. I know he's a great player and good defender, semi-good on the offensive end. So, like I said, I don't have enough time watched of his, whatever you want to say. So I don't really like this trade personally. I don't like this trade idea either, but it's one that I could see them making, and I could see what they would be thinking and the thought process behind it. And that's I had Paskal Siakam on here. That's the three trades that they could make, and that they not necessarily should, but that they could make, and I could understand all three of them. But let's talk about the trades that I think they should make as a fan, even trying to be unbiased, as just somebody what I think gives them the best chance this year and going forward. So the first trade I think they should make is for Jordan Clarkson. I have not heard this one talked about enough, but to me they could really use him. It would bring a scoring punch off the bench that they're really missing. This is the role that obviously Jordan Poole would fill and filled in his years in Golden State, and I didn't think they were going to miss it this bad, but they're really missing that scorer off the bench and just that other scorer, period. Somebody that can hit you with a 10-point straight in 2 minutes. They just really missed that, because right now all you have is Steph, and other than that you're just there's no no ability to really get anything going on the offensive end without Steph Curry. So I think he would really help them in that area, and they need it, especially with the performance so far of some of their other scorers. They just need another scoring option on this team. I shouldn't say it. They don't just need another scoring option. They need another shot creator. Klay, his years of being a shot creator are over. He never really was a shot creator. He could get his own, but those days are over for him. Wiggins, he's just not living up to that as they thought they would. Kuminga's starting to be able to do that, but he still has to get close to all the way to the rim, or at least short mid-range, so he's not really that developed into that much of a shot creator yet either. So they just really need that, and I would like to see him on this team coming off the bench. But I do have to admit that this wouldn't fix their defensive problems, but I don't think they need a trade to do that. I think all their solutions to the defense are on that roster right now and in that building right now. Obviously, you got Draymond coming back, and GP2 will be back soon. But the one that has got to step up is Andrew Wiggins. He's got to step up at some point, or they're going to have to trade him. And they just, the pieces are there. They just have to become more connected on that end of the floor, and just as a team, period. There's a lack of connectivity on this team, a lack of pride, a lack of want to. Any of those words you want to use, any of those cliche phrases, there's just a lack of it on that team right now, and that's why they're where they are. So, like I said, I would really like to see this move. I doubt it happens because I haven't really heard it much, but you never know. But the one that to me is the trade for them is Lauri Markkanen. If they could make this trade and have the opportunity, they should make this trade. They should not hesitate for 1 second. He would turn this team into an explosive, dynamic, different, whatever word you want to use, that I think champions must be in this day and age. It would give them something that they've never had during this dynasty run. Obviously, he's a 7-footer, so he brings the size they have always been lacking. He's not just your average 7-footer though. Yeah, he helps your defense. He's a fairly good rim protector, good at rebounding, and somewhat of a lob threat. So those are the obvious things, but he's way more than that. He is a three-level scorer. You can go 5 out with him, and while not having to give up as much size like they've had to do in the past. Take the Celtics, for example. Bringing in Porzingis allowed them to go 5 out and spread the floor, but you're still big in the front court, and you're not sacrificing any size. So I'd like to see the Warriors in a system where they can do that. He also brings a post-up option, whether it's mid-post, whether it's low block, whether it's free throw line, whatever. He brings a post-up option that they haven't had. They've had some mid-post with KD, but they really haven't had a post presence this entire run. And I guess they had it with Boogie to an extent, but he was injured that whole run, and I mean, it was still effective when he would get the ball on the block, and he was still able to go score on people just because of the space he had and things like that. But like I said, he was hurt, so we never really got to see what that would look like. So I would think it would work, and it's something that I would be interested in seeing, and because it would just, like I said, be a different look for him. And then the other thing is he's a pretty good passer, so he could be another offensive hub along with Draymond, even if they're in there together. But if Draymond's sitting, it adds another person that you can run the offense around and run your DHOs through, and just somebody that's going to draw a lot of attention and can make the right play, and that you would trust to make the right play. So, like I said, I'm in love with this trade for the Warriors, and as a fan of the Warriors, as a fan of the league, as a fan of the NBA, I hope they make this trade because I think it could make them pretty special, and they will become a lot better this season. But I also think it would give the team a good starting point for the next few years, because they would kind of know I have Steph and Markkanen going forward, and we can build the rest of the roster around that. But it would give you a sense of clarity, as we know these two guys are going to show up every night and play good basketball, and it's somebody it's just a good starting point, like I said, to try to make one more run and get one more championship with Steph before he inevitably retires. But like I said, the Warriors are the team that I'm going to be watching the most over these next few weeks, whether it's them actually playing or just hearing trade talks and hearing rumors about it. But they may not make a move at all, considering they have never really been a trade deadline team. At least from what I can remember, they've never made a big move at the trade deadline, except for when they traded D'Lo and them for Wiggins, which was, you were in the lottery that year, you're the worst team in the league. That's kind of a different situation, but this year is a different situation. They are not good. It's that simple. They are not a good basketball team. And another thing is they have another GM. It's no longer Bob Myers. So Mike Dunleavy could end up blowing this whole thing up. He could be trying to start his career on a different path versus trying to manage the end of this run and this team's last dance. He could just say, I'm starting my own thing. So there are plenty of moves they can make, like Levine and DeRozan and DeJounte Murray, players like that. But Jeremy Grant, you'd have to throw in there with them. But I'm not the biggest fan of any of those moves. The main player they should go after in my eyes is Lauri Markkanen, and while they're at it, they should see if they could get greedy and bring in Clarkson with him in the process. I'm pretty aware that this would more than likely require that you move most of your young guys, perhaps Andrew Wiggins, probably Chris Paul just because of his expiring contract, and you might even have to get rid of Clay and Draymond or one or the other. But in a perfect world where everything that I want could happen, it would be they keep Clay and Dre, bring in Markkanen with the core three, finish the rest of the season, and go from there with the newfound flexibility that they would have this summer, and just kind of see what other moves they can make to try, like I said, try to make one more run at it and have this team's last dance, and then call it a day. Try to get 5 championships and say thank you to everybody, and that's about as much as you can ask for, and I would be content as a fan, and I think the league would be content. I think they would be content. So we'll see how they handle it. Like I said, they could make a big move, they could blow the whole thing up, or they could not do anything. So I'm gonna keep an eye on them. But that's the only teams I really wanted to discuss today. Obviously, there are many other teams that'll make moves, but these are the teams that I think need to make a move for this year to really improve their chances this year. And I know there was a lot of I don't knows and things like that just throughout this video, just because I think that kind of comes with this territory, because a lot of it's just kind of talking in jest and just kind of assuming things. You don't, like, we have no clue what's going to happen. Obviously, I'm not in the front office circle. I'm relying on ESPN and Bleacher Report and all this stuff to feed me information. So I just think that there's just a lot of uncertainty that comes with this. But I mean, like, there's no way to tell who's going to be available and who a team can realistically target. So I tried to keep it as realistic as possible and only throw out suggestions that I think could actually happen, but I'm sure there was some on there that y'all were probably rolling your eyes at and looking at me like I was crazy. I think, us fans are in for an exciting trade deadline. If the Paskal Siakam trade is any sign of what's to come, I say that, and then that might be the only trade that's made this next few weeks. So, but I think there'll be a good bit of trades that includes a good bit of stars. So, and I didn't even mention players like Donovan Mitchell and Trae Young, that there's rumors that could potentially be on the move. So I'll save some of this stuff to see if this actually happens over the next few weeks and just kind of give reaction videos and things like that. So that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment some of your trade ideas and what your dream scenarios would look like for whatever team you're a fan of. Like I said, that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in to Hoopla. I've been your host, Ethan Jackson. Until next time.